I first set foot in Australia on July 14th, and yes, the French national holiday, Bastille Day as mostly Americans like to call it. So, contrary to the 20 times before, no fireworks and family reunions for me on that day. It was my first day in Sydney, Australia. As you probably guessed, I am a French person in Australia to study for 12 months. Thus, the main aspect of me being a product of globalization is obviously being here today. Without the compression of time and space caused by this increasing recent movement of globalization, I wouldn't have been able to do 16,000 kilometers to study and spend a year abroad. And today, I will explore Eric Beck's concept of globalization of biography through my own experience as an international student in Australia. The first item of the culture's globalization that I am living through is obviously the language. My mother tongue is French, but I have been taught ever since primary school the English language. It is said that French people are not good at foreign languages, but in every primary school the children are taught a few words of English, and not, say, German. Indeed, as the flows of communication expands throughout the world, the need for global language has a reason. Today, it seems like English is this global language that can be recognized and understood by people everywhere. No language is currently being learned by more people. It is estimated that there will soon be about 2 billion people doing so. Language is a cornerstone of culture, and so global language really reflects this culture of globalization. It is yet feared that a global language would destroy some native language, and by these cultures and identities. Yet, I believe that as a second or third language, it would make communication across cultures much easier. Today, by learning this language and coming to a country to practice it, I am both a product of globalization, as I felt I needed to become more fluent in English and not stick to my mother tongue, and an agent, as I reinforce the number and the flows of non-native English speakers. Yet, it is true that French and English languages are rather close. A lot of words have the same root, and so a lot of French words can be found in the English language. And above all, cafes, restaurants, boulangerie, and so on, words related to food and gastronomy. Coming here, in a Western country, I was confident in the fact that even though the brand would be slightly different, I would still be able to find the products I consume at home. I was told obviously that the gastronomy would be different, but I thought that for my own meals, I would find food that resembled what I have home. I couldn't have been more wrong. I found out that even though the brand is the same, there is differences in the recipes depending on the geographical area. This is very interesting because it shows that even a transnational company adapts its product locally. This can be seen as a limit to cultural globalization. It is true that I found here the same kind of product as in France, but everything isn't homogenized to blend into unique global culture. Being 16,000 kilometers away from home, I have to adapt here my diet, but all in all, my lifestyle to the local culture I am immersed in. However, I also found myself to be an agent of globalization as I took a position bringing French culture into the heart of Sydney. I found a job at a crêperie down on Darling Harbour. The whole French stereotype is here. The blue red flag is everywhere. Employees are asked to wear red lipstick and stick to strong French accent when speaking. And above all, we serve crepes, which is a French thin pancake stuffed by either sweet or savory food. I am thus an agent of globalization, not because I encourage a homogenization of cultures, as some may fear, but because I participate in the radiance of French culture overseas and here in Australia. Therefore, ever since July 14th, I have become a product of globalization. As I am a local in different places now, my hometown and where I studied back in France, Lyon, and now Sydney, and the suburb of Permont where I live. Reflecting on Eric-based concept of globalization of biography, my life is no longer tied to one particular place, my hometown, but I have adapted my life to a more global way. My biography is now globalized, not only because I feel I am now local to different places, but also because the multi-location involves more than geographical places, but also different words, and as far as I'm concerned, language, culture, lifestyle, food habits. The new technologies are moreover the center of my new transnational life, creating proximity with my loved ones back to France over the distance separating us.